Okay, everybody, we did allegiance, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody, and welcome to the August Communications Committee monthly meeting. We do have did receive one of our words that one of our committee members can't make it. Hoping another one will as well. And as well here to do it forum. First order of business is to approve the minutes from the June 2023 meetings.
Typo there, it's actually the July.
It is the July 19th, as I put there, thank you, the July 19th, 2023 meeting. We don't have to fix this agenda yet. The July 19th, 2023 meeting minutes. Hopefully everybody got a copy in front of them as well. I had nothing to add or take away. I really appreciate it as well. As always, the minutes here. Any comments there?
Good.
With that, we have a motion to approve the July 19th, 2023 Communications Committee meeting.
I so move.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Thank you, John. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you very much. Next order of business is our public discussion, visitor comments. This time, if anybody has any comments they'd like to throw in there. If there are any members of the public to raise their hand, they may do so now. Okay. Moving on to old business, we have our Ready Monco text alert services. So last month we did talk about Ready Monco, and I gave an update thanks to Holly that we had what you supply here. And we did have some open questions. As we know, Holly was going to check out a training or with a questionnaire with Ready Monco. So Holly, we appreciate all that you've done on this, and yield to you here. If you could give us an update on the Ready Monco at all. Any new updates?
Did you get the Ready Monco that I sent out?
Yes, awesome. Nice use of that.
Yes, and that one with the trash.
Yeah.
Yes, that was
So it worked.
excellent. Any problems with that? Are there any
No.
limitations? No limitations?
It's super simple.
Fantastic, that's great to hear. So really, I think that we have a text messaging alert system now that we can actively use and we can advertise.
I have no idea how to.
No worries, no worries. Well, we appreciate it.
Two additional people in the office, including one of our police employees also knows how to do it. So if I'm not available, they can.
Thank you. There, anybody have any questions for Bob?
The one question we had last,
This one, in the minutes.
character limit, you have to worry about how your messages. and-
Yes. Yes. Basically, what happens is I put in like the blurb that you got. And on your, and then it takes you, has a link and then it takes you to that next thing. There is a limit to how much you can put in there. Like I couldn't write a book.
Right.
You know, I mean, I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood. I have to look here. I don't know. It doesn't say anything specific. I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe 500 characters. I have to go into it and look and see exactly what it says, because there is a number down at the bottom that says, you know, when you start typing and that number starts getting smaller, as how many characters you have left.
And
The other thing I can do, another thing you can do is you can also put in there, a link to the website as well.
That's
So, but it's
that's exactly what we were saying. Well, I would hate for you to have to do the extra work if you had to just summarize something that you would have to keep it under 500 and be frustrating. Type it up and say, do more. But I think that's what I was gonna add to that. We could always, if something is to extend, or maybe you can just say, hey, we have a new alert, check the website, or if we can get some information in there. That's wonderful.
And FYI, oh, wait a minute, 2,000 character limit.
oh wow,
2000, fantastic.
So we're good.
yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
Um,
Now, my other question I had, Holly, regarding the limit, and this might answer it, where with the last text message, how close, this might give me a better idea, how close were you to that? Did it indicate? Just, and I'm just naive to how much is 1,000. I just don't know exactly how much 1,000 characters, like, top of my head, that was pretty important, that's good to hear.
And, you know, and what I did to get an idea as well, I went into my own personal Ready Monco
Right.
account and just checked out a whole bunch of stuff. So that I could start getting things to see what other people use it. Very, very few municipalities actually use it for anything other than an emergency.
Yeah,
This is just good, like when you open up specific townships or boroughs or whatever. It comes up and gives you two choices. It will say community information or emergency information. And most everybody checks off, emergency. There are 3,247 people registered for Lower Selford Township.
okay,
Wow.
and that could be anywhere.
That could be anywhere. It could be somebody in California whose family member lives in the township
Right.
and wants to get alert. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, but there's 3,247 people within the Ready Monco system that have checked the Lower Selford box.
And so, and just for clarification then as well, and that was another question I had, you have the option to click emergency or community thing,
Yes, you do.
so we don't have to worry about where. Too much,
Right.
you know, let's see.
I don't know how familiar people are with the Ready Monco system. We have been putting information about Ready Monco into our newsletter forever. I've been here almost 20 years, and the newsletter has been here even before me. I think Ready Monco has been around since the early 2000s. It's improved as years have gone by. But we have 2 newsletters a year. I know it goes into at least one of them. Sometimes it goes into both of them. So I'm actually meeting with the newsletter people the first week of September. So that will be an update to my article for Ready Monco that will talk about timely alerts for township information, not just emergency.
Right, awesome. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I just know my personal feel is I don't think it's too much information that you send out. It's always great to hear. I can't imagine too many people unsubscribing because they're getting bombarded. And hopefully with the text message, people feel the same way. If you have that option, I think that's one of.
So when you did this, did it go out immediately or is it proctored or?
You can choose how you do it. You can choose. Just like constant contact. I can schedule a constant contact or I can send it out immediately. You can choose to do that. Yep, and it went out immediately too, but because I got it on my cell phone and my email, but everything.
That's
And
fantastic.
by the way, that email, the text or the text that went out about the AJ, I forget the name of the trash hauler.
Right.
They never did do what they said they were going to do. Uh-oh. A couple of our police officers use that hauling service. Weeks, 7 weeks without
That's good.
having to pick up.
I think that answers most of the questions that we were discussing last month.
So question 3 here, I mean, you mentioned that it'll go into the next newsletter.
Mhm.
Does Monco have anything they use to promote the use of Ready Monco? Any?
It's on the front of their website. I don't know, I personally don't get anything in the mail from the county that has,
I don't think so either. That would be, it would be helpful, some kind of PSA. It's-
that's a good question, I would have to ask.
Yeah,
So I'll ask Tom Hyatt about that, see if he has a connection, her name is Angela, she's the one who did the training for us. To see how they get the word out.
yeah,
about that.
how are they promoting Ready Monco? And is there some way of within those, whatever they use to promote Ready Monco, do they promote the fact that it includes this text messaging? So that, you know, it would be a general awareness, then our job just becomes making sure that people select Lower Salford. I mean, theoretically, they would already know that the text messaging is there. It just becomes Salford.
And in the same vein, it's almost like a new promotion as well for Ready Monco, because there will be people say, oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And that kind of leads into, I think, our next discussion as we get further down here, new business, which should be, and I'm not gonna jump too far ahead, but how do we promote, now that we have access to this, what can we do to help let people know, what further things? Because if there's somebody who relies mostly on text message for communication, then they might not necessarily see the other things. Well, based upon our survey, I think the newsletter is great. Start with that.
Right.
That is something you're going to include, Holly, or would you include?
But
Perhaps just a reminder that if you go to Ready Monco, you can now click Lower Salford and
Yeah.
sign up on.
that'll be in the upcoming newsletter for fall. They can easily put it into a constant contact too.
That's a good idea.
That'd be
But
great.
like I think about that, and I think some of the things that go into the constant contacts are also the same types of things that I would do a Ready Monco email or text message for.
Right,
Like when a street's gonna be closed, I do a constant contact. You know, I send it out right away, that type of thing.
yeah,
Moyer Road over by Oak Ridge Elementary, that's closed, sent out something for that. You know, a tree is down, I would do something like that too, so. It just depends on how you want to get your service, how you want to get your information. And there's people who don't want any information. There's people who are good with not knowing, and then when it falls in their backyard, they call the township. That's just how it works.
right.
And they don't have to sign up.
Exactly, exactly.
I wish there was a simpler way, year end, where you post one, you can post the other, besides just a copy paste, and that might not always fit in character space. Think something to do that, or you could do that for the same display.
Copy paste is a great idea, but in the end, it still has to be,
Character,
yeah,
right, and that's why I'm saying, if not
Yeah.
that, so maybe even a simple way could just be. New message regarding, boom. Click this link to our website, because on smartphones, they could do that, well, to make it easy regarding, from a year end.
Cool.
So yeah, I think that covers. Any other questions on? On the texting alert Ready Monco? I think we're kind of jumping ahead, but that's obviously something that we're going to discuss is how that as well. This is great to hear. Thank you, Paul. Moving on, with the whole business, as I indicated earlier, reaching out to the Board of Supervisors, feedback, support on our top options that we chose from our list. I did reach out, as I indicated earlier. I did send a message to all of the supervisors, but this month we did not have our work sessions, July and August. So since we last met, we haven't had that meeting. Except our main meeting, but I would read the email that I sent out, then at each supervisor said at our previous communications committee meeting, we, the committee members, discussed potential future meeting topics. We reviewed a list of topic ideas that we previously had brainstormed. After discussion, we narrowed it down to 5 topic ideas that we see as something that we may want to research and discuss over a longer term, similar to our resident request portal and the quick reference guide. We wanted to first share these with the board prior to us having any discussion on the topics at all. This way, if you choose, you may offer some feedback and more insight that may be useful to our discussions. I also attached our entire list of potential topics with updated notes prior to last month's meeting. The specific 5 that we wanted to share with the board are below. Please remember, we have had no discussions on these so far. they are subject to change. We appreciate your feedback. If you'd like to offer any, please reach out if you have any questions or feedback. Listed the numbers we've had, and then on behalf of the communication committee, sign my name as well. So to their credit, that had recently gone out, and I did get a response from you saying that they are definitely look into it and will report back to us. So we can kind of tell you with that. But I will keep everybody updated as well. Next old business was.
So,
Go ahead.
Okay,
Yeah, any questions on that? Any questions?
no, not on that.
Okay. The next order we have is resident welcome letter packet.
Okay, so before you go to that, so in terms of the use of text messaging. So now that we know we have a text alert
Mhm.
function and it's been used, right? I mean, so again, you may not have a chance to talk to them about this, but we had wanted, from the communication committee aspect, we wanted to recommend that they township start using it for these three scenarios. So,
Exactly, and that, I'm glad you brought up, I was even considering putting this as new business of how we can construct that or bring it up.
okay,
And that, go ahead, John.
no,
Okay, and I think, so a couple things with that, and just for anybody watching as well, some of the things we discussed last time is reminder alerts of the monthly township BOS meeting, and that would be, hey, there's a meeting tomorrow night or night, whichever would want to choose to do that. Topics here, see the agenda link attached. Cautionary alerts regarding road issues, that's something that we kind of just started talking about as well, that I think could be applied to. And informational alerts about community events. Again, what currently goes out is road alerts. We discussed a little bit, most of the time, and Holly will always send them out. And I know a couple times I've seen maybe just an email and a chain, hey, can we get this on a constant contact from somebody? And Holly does it right away. But I think what we discussed and brought up was what specific things we would recommend. So I'd be happy to bring it up for a discussion at our next work session, see what their take is, or we could send an email regarding that specifically as well. I would yield to whatever I want to do with that. Meaning this committee, I mean, the committee wants to do with that. And, what are any suggestions on that? Should we do a letter, or should we just formally talk about it? I'd be happy to do either way.
I would think it's easier to do a letter or email and
Okay.
kind of get it off your plate in front of them without having to wait for a meeting to say essentially, the township survey indicated that residents wanted a text messaging. Right, we have now proven that we can do that. I mean, however you want to that. Now know that via Ready Monco, we can issue text messages, right? If line the stars, right? Then, our recommendation from a communication committee is based on the survey, based on the functionality, we recommend that the township start using text alerts for these three things. That's our input in terms of communication.
Okay,
And
I think
if
that's
you
it.
want me to draft the text for that, I can draft it and send it to you, and you can cut and paste it to the board, or.
Sure. If you want to do that, that'd be perfect. I don't mind doing it as well, but I'm not going to object to the volunteer there. Thank you, Chair. I don't mind delegating. But yeah, that would be perfect, and I think that's a better way to go too. That way we can all see it, take add or take away, particularly because Steve and Jess aren't here. Maybe they could have an opinion on that too. And I'd be happy to send it to on the same way on behalf of communications committee, and then we could have a discussion. Thank you, and I'm glad you brought that up. Anything else to add, Barry? Comments?
No, I also see this as something in flux too. Like, I think once we start doing it, we're gonna learn by what's working, what's not working.
That's
So
true.
it's not set in stone, so.
And that might be, it might be easy to tell, if we send a text message out and all of a sudden we have people. I don't know, let's say, I'm just one or two,
Right.
more
Right.
people here that are. It's great that people come up when there are issues that are important to them, which, hopefully they could. I think having people regularly is a great benefit for everybody as well. Well, it'd be interesting to see what happens after that. Okay, so I think that's all great. It's great information and, it's great information to hear from the text alert. Thank you for clarifying feedback. Work there. I'm excited. I'm excited that I wonder how many other townships don't realize that they can do that as well. As we said, Holly, there's not a lot right now. The same thing that we have really with our request portal. We realized that we had the system in place. And that's where it's good to hop on now before they start charging for these services more as well. That's one. Which brings us to a B, our resident welcome letter packet. This one saw on the agenda, double checking, I actually watched our last video as well on YouTube, so I could brush up on the meeting hopefully too. The resident welcome packet, where we discussed is the idea of having a township welcome letter or flyer or packet idea. Could new residents be identified somehow, and what would the process be for getting them the letter? This is something else that would be helpful, to discuss with the board, well, whether that's something we want to do. I think I'm just open for discussion, but another idea too, instead of, it's kind of what we're getting last month, correct me otherwise, is discussing the idea of, rather than putting together a letter, maybe we should discuss the idea first. If that makes sense, bring it up to the board, hey, it's another thing we're considering. What are your thoughts on this? And then we can go ahead and act it.
Is that in our list that?
Yes, I'm sorry, this is number 2, 5, 6, and 10.
Okay.
So that's why it was good to see that they combined,
Okay.
we realized as we're going through. And, if anybody didn't see last month, we went through based upon, and I'm glad you said earlier, John, we ascertained that these are the things that people want based on the survey results. And we think which ones we could do here. So my suggestion for this is we can start to put something maybe together right now as well, so we have something in writing to say this is what we're thinking. Or do we want to just focus on the first suggestion that we're going to do regarding, we don't want to have too many as well. I'm for either one, whatever we want to do. But do we want to do 2 suggestions at once, or do we want to wait possibly till next month to have this one? Or we can get the input for the other committee members too.
You lost me.
I think I prefer waiting, only because we don't have the full committee here, and also we haven't presented it to the board yet either, so. I feel like we're kind of in limbo right now until.
Correct. And what I was saying, John, I apologize too. Just the idea, I kind of stumbled to get there, but the idea is we could put together a packet, like some kind of idea here, recommendation in writing or draft, or even do that just in between meetings as well. Or should we wait and have more discussion when the other members are here on this topic, since we really haven't gone at it that long? I'd be okay tabling this one and waiting for everybody. But I do think we should proceed with the idea of, hey, here's another suggestion we'd like to have. Let us know your thoughts on this before we go ahead and create it.
So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So I think if I were a board member, my first question would be, what do you see being in this packet? And it's not so much the letter, the letter can be drafted.
Sure.
Right? But if we're talking about not just a letter, but some kind of a packet, what would be in that packet? Kind of existing township information is readily available. We're not, inventing anything new. We're just
Right.
pulling together stuff that's already available, maps, latest newsletter, whatever else, right? And that becomes a packet of material.
Yes.
And so your position, to answer at least that question, if they say, hey, are you interested in the pursuit of a new resident letter, and the first question is, well, or not, a new resident package. Right, and the first question is, well, what's in the package? You've got some kind of answer.
We're not sending everybody a welcome to Lower Southern bug. That's not something
Right.
that we have.
Yeah.
But that you haven't even.
No, that would be nice.
That would be good. But yeah, you have a great point, and I guess, in regards to packet, that is something we can start breaking. What I would think of, if you're even saying that, obviously our reference, quick reference guides. We have. And again, we established that just by speaking early on with the facilities, different apartment complexes, that a lot of people said, hey, but they didn't even know they had a pool in town, those people come to work here, it's moving here. I would think another thing that might be nice just would be maybe, I'm thinking what's in the newsletter, like a welcome letter from the chair of the board, welcome to the community, it's Lower Southern. Obviously, bigger we get, the more expensive it would be as well, so.
Right.
So far, we have two fold up notes here. What other kind of ideas or any other ideas we would think would be in the packet there?
I think the map is a great tool. I think, I'm assuming there's, extra supply of the latest newsletter, right? For a new resident to get, and not have to wait for the next one to come out, but to get that.
And that answers so much right there, it's particularly. important.
Yeah, right.
But then we're also now increasing costs, the bigger this packet gets,
At the
the
same
more
time.
expensive, because if we're mailing it to people.
Correct. And when you
Nice to have
say
one of
that
these.
too,
Yeah,
you bring up two other questions, I think it's alluded to is, how much will this cost? That would be, and I think it would be helpful to know roughly how many new residents we would expect. That could fluctuate all the time, obviously, give or take, there's not always new places coming in here, and some people might move on 1 month more than another month, school, summer, that kind of stuff, but it would be helpful to have a general idea, maybe yearly, so you have, hey, this is how many new residents, roughly, so if the packet is this much now. You look at X amount. Yeah, we do, it does increase the price every time we. That's something we would want to get sponsored on, well. Local businesses, but then we run that fine line unless we did it just like the newsletter. How do we do the advertising for the newsletter?
We don't do it per se, it is the company that does it,
The
they
company,
do it all, they have someone in marketing
that makes more
that
sense.
does all of it. I have a really big question, first of all. How do we even track new residents?
That was one of the things. we
Because-
specifically had.
The township does not require a use and occupancy inspection for a new residential property. Or a property that's being resold, we have no idea. No idea. Things every month from the county
Right.
showing the changes they've had. But it could be so as simple as someone's changing their last name or adding someone to their deed or their mortgage or. I have no idea who's to say who's a new house and who's not.
We definitely,
So we have no idea. I don't even, the only way of knowing would be to. You talk to realtors. But then. There's hundreds of those.
well, I think another thing, and we had this discussion, before, that's something we would have to look into as well. We know. For example, a cable provider, people have been welcome to the neighborhood, I get all that when I. Even just, one side of town to the other, welcome to this, welcome to that, I don't know how they get that. Whether that's something that they buy. From the post office, whatnot, that would be something else we have to definitely do it. That's one of the questions we have here, literally right here, but the flyer, packet ideas, how can we identify new residents? That's.
No idea.
discussion, but- And then what would the process be for getting the resident packet to the residents? Perhaps, perhaps,
How well, I want to say last time we talked about this, that the company who does the newsletter,
6,247.
but how do they determine, do those, and I don't know, off the top of my head,
It's the
do those come
newsletter.
up just resident, they just go by?
No.
No.
They go by boundaries of the township. where our boundaries are, not what your mailing address
But
is.
if,
Because you could have a Harleysville
but
mailing
if,
address.
but if I move out and somebody else moves in, does the newsletter just come to? The other thing, it's been a while, talked about this, there are agencies
Yeah.
who will supply, new resident information. I forget whether it was the postal service or something else. It's been a while. Right, and I think I even had looked at some of the estimated costs for doing that, so.
Yeah,
There is a cost, right, but you can pay to get new residents. New resident information. And I
just-
think, if I
just gotta
remember
keep my
correctly, there was
paperwork.
a minimum amount. Of that certain minimum, then be paid on a kind of a per person.
I think you're right. I remember we had those, this is one of the early things we brought up during the weekend. And this all stems from the resident walk-up letter that they're doing, right? So that, yeah, I remember there was a price. It was, I know we're looking at other prices too, then, but I don't recall what it was. And I usually, that's what I'm saying,
Bottom line, it's doable, right? There may be a cost factor, but it's doable. As you said, it partly depends on, what your average monthly new resident count, is, or if you did it monthly. I think, again, when we brainstormed this before, we might have been talking about doing it quarterly, right? That, want to do it on a quarterly basis. But again, I think they're all things that, you're going to the Board of Supervisors and not saying, hey, are you interested? Do you think we should pursue a new resident package? You're going and saying, are you interested in us pursuing a new resident package that would potentially include these kinds of things, right? And potentially has a cost factor, to even identify who the new residents are, but any interest?
Yeah, I think that's on the month, literally. That's the way to do it there. And yeah, you make great points, John. I'm glad you brought that up because they're the same questions that I would expect or want to know as well. So that said, do we want to look into one more time, research how much it would cost for that and come back to this to put something together? Because right now we have so far what will be in the packet, a quick reference, a welcome from the chair, Matt, possibly the newsletter. These are what we have so far. Perhaps we can continue to think of different ideas. Perhaps the other members would as well. And then between now and maybe next month, get a price for this. I think that would be the best amount. I mean, get a price, figure out how we can reach residents. Because I know we did have something. I don't remember. Thinking now, may have.
Yeah, I'll go back and look at the notes. See if it's actually made it into the notes or.
And if we haven't printed it, that's why I had all the other old stuff. I literally today switched them out, so they're in the drawer at home, but I can look through those as well and see if we wrote it.
Yeah.
That's a great point. Anything else we can think of that we could add to the packet or that we can bring up next month with everybody as well? Quick reference, welcome, note from the chair, a map, newsletter.
Else that, again, that the township already uses, that is.
I think
General township information.
I think the maps are the things I've gotten requests for from different stuff like that, which would be covered with them. But I don't think I can think of anything else. We have some investment dual I can look at on the way out again, but a lot of these cover it too. So having a quick reference cover a lot of the other little things we have. But yes, we do have more info on this, but the quick reference get you right there. Right? So I suggested that so perhaps we table this with this information, but next month, let's see. I'll be happy to research as well. Want to check it out too, see what we can find on how to contact people and the rough price that would be.
Right.
And
maybe also like approximate costs on what the postage would be if we have all that.
that's what I was just gonna say.
Okay.
How would, but you're right though, how would we go about to get that? I'm curious whether we want to wait to add more to it or discuss more what will be in the packet, maybe a rough.
I would take
Take one.
One of our newsletters, one of our maps, a couple of sheets of paper and weigh it and see
Right,
what the
right,
postage
right,
is.
exactly.
So, and then that can go down as well. Okay, we'll find that information. then too. I would just stick to those. Though. Very good. Any other comments on this or input on this? These are great. I wasn't sure how much we would get covered with this, when we were on this, but this is some great ideas to really start from and have to work with. Really, as I'm looking at the rest of our agenda here, this is. We can add more to this. I really can't think of anything else we could add to the packet off the top of our head here.
You don't wanna overwhelm people.
Yeah, you
either,
don't wanna, because once we have that newsletter, that's a lot right there too. Great job on the news.
Yeah.
Great job on the newsletter. Obviously, the township is always reading too, so the survey results indicate that. Yeah, I mean, that will hopefully get people links to the website. Great. So for next month, we'll bring to everybody as well again, what would be and what kind of ideas we could put in that packet. How much it will cost to, and how we can locate who comes in here, you know, honestly, I don't know, remember the whole process of that. As
Mhm.
well as the potential price of the packet to mail. Anything else, leaving out of there? I like that. Good. On new business, which again with prioritization and selection of next future topics. I think some of this would help on some of the feedback as well, but we didn't have that opportunity yet. But I did take a look. I don't know if anybody else did. You know, I know we talked about things last time, discussed prioritizing them. I found a few easy things, not knowing where we would be or what to discuss, something that we can work on relatively soon. But anybody else have anything that they stand out to them? Obviously now we have the resident welcome letter. I'm excited to follow up on that. So that's definitely next week, we'll prepare that too. Very interesting. Good, John. The one I wrote down, this was considering, I know we talked about a little bit last one. The special session with facilities management companies. I think it would be very easy, like I said, I'd like to follow up with them. Visit, make sure everybody's doing well, that remind them that they have a communications email if they needed anything else, and remind everybody that they have that digital welcome packet that they can print on against their residents. That's actually something we could also use with the, sorry to jump back, with the resident welcome packet. I know a couple of the facilities hand out a folder which includes our trail maps, our newsletter, as well as the welcome quick records we printed originally. So what I was thinking though is if we do go to, reach out to the facilities, to send a letter and you could say, hey, how are we doing? Invite them either each facility at the same time. Hey, special session. Hey, we're having a communications committee meeting next month. We encourage you to send out a blast to let your residents know if they're interested and would like to, learn more about the township or be more involved. Then we could have a subject here. If people come here, any questions from the audience might be a great opportunity to get some input. I think that's something that would be doable.
Do these meetings have to be held in the township building? And can we, rather than inviting them here, right, can we have a meeting in their facility? Right?
I would think so. I know the park board goes to the parks, but that's still technically township. I'm not sure if there's a definition in there. Seeing as we are just I don't want to suggest it, but we are a committee, that I can look into that. That's a good question. I don't have a specific answer. I don't think there's a problem with that, but I'm not sure. The only thing we would have, it makes it harder to take, but we could always figure that out as well. I think it would be very advantageous for residents, especially if we did over a couple months, it would be a couple different places.
Right.
That's great. That's something we can look into.
Even if it's not back-to-back months.
Right.
So that you don't exclude people from coming to a meeting here.
Right.
At least on the long term, but, you know,
I love that.
I would think we should at least have the potential for getting more people involved if you're on their site. And communicate it to the other facilities, right? But, you know, say, hey, we are gonna hold the meeting at this facility, right? And nothing else, at least get someone from that facility there to give their input.
Right,
And do that over a couple of different facilities.
I think it's a great idea. Sorry,
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's a great way for, and again, not everybody has access to, you know, the technological. You know, instruments to get them on Zoom, so it would be, it could offer them the potential to. I love the idea, I'll look into that, and after it's great, that's something, I think that's a great idea.
Number 18, yearly update of the township quick reference guide.
Yeah.
When should we put that together?
But then, so,
Yearly update of the township quick reference guide. When do we finalize that?
Yeah.
See something.
I think,
Seems like it's been forever.
Yeah.
it does almost feel like it's been out for a year, the official rough, the official first draft had a date. I don't remember, but that's something, is that something we wanna do now? I think it might.
Well, we
be
should
at the
have
end
a
of the
date,
year.
you know,
Yeah.
let's have a date when we're gonna.
And it could be something we could start perhaps at the end of the year, just double check, you know, the way, that's a good point. And what that is to follow up on the numbers, the links, anything that we have already, keep it up to date. That should be a priority to make sure as we get closer, hate to say it, but as we get closer to the end of the year. Yeah, it's only three, 4 more meetings, so. But that's a great point. I think then, I don't remember when we did it, but I think at this point, it'd be safe to just do. At the beginning of the year, or at the end of the year.
It'll be easier to remember than.
Exactly. Wherever we were, we could go to the 3 points. Remember, it's in September. What year do you have? It doesn't matter what year, but month. I think that's a great idea to make sure that that's worth able to. It's, no, that. 21 kind of falls into a little bit what we just discussed in the resident outreach program, like all the facilities cover that too. Another great aspect of that,
Yeah, some of it's a combination of it.
right? Falls into that. All the good parts. I really like that idea.
And we were planning on doing number 19 in November. That's correct. The impact of the communication committee with the survey again.
Survey again. I know we talked about waiting till after the Reading. So after the Reading Munco text alert functionality has been tested, so wait.
Only because we had the survey
Right,
in November, right?
and that would just be via survey, right, there? I would think.
Yeah,
Yeah, or as we talked about redoing a survey before we lost access to the survey functionality.
Right.
And maybe that is somehow incorporated into the next survey.
I'm not certain, but I do feel that we're going to keep the, Holly, do you know off the record? I know it was discussed, I don't know if the park board is going to use the survey. I know it was mentioned that, you know, other committees might, I'm not sure. I think,
That's what you're asking? me?
yes, was it?
Can this be reviewed? Then
Oh.
we have not,
Okay.
but we have also not met in July. So our next meeting will be September.
And what we were wondering is the township going to let that survey expire? Do we plan on keeping the survey subscription to this?
I think so, yeah.
And that's why I was saying, I feel like it's safe that we're gonna keep it, because there was interest amongst other.
because we're not in a rush then.
No, I don't think we, I think it sounded pretty safe in this discussion. You know, there's a future interest of we're using. And really, that's the credit to your work on that, everybody else too, is to get we had great results. A lot of people were interested in it. But let's keep that in mind as well. 'Cause that's something we could also look into. And the only reason we tabled it last time is we want to see what the text messaging be, but that's something we could definitely do on a yearly thing as well, as we did. Which would also help set the tone for that year's plans. 18 and 9. Great. Secretary, thank you. And as this is new, there's no set rule yet, but that would be great to have for future as well. Any other things we want to discuss or stand out perhaps? No, for next month, we're definitely going to be working back on B, the resident welcome letter packet. And perhaps start discussing information from the how to plan for the facility in person.
The one I think I highlighted last time was 27. Which
Yes.
is more an internal benefit to the Board of Supervisors. Versus an external benefit, but to compile a document of all the various ways that they can communicate with the residents. So that's newsletter or text messaging now, or the billboards or the park kiosks, or and my thinking here was when topics are being discussed, does anybody even remember all the communication channels that are potentially used, right? And does anyone think in terms of, hey, how is this subject going to be communicated to the residents? And as a communication committee,
Right.
we ought to be helping them do that, right? And my thought, just a thought, was a list or checklist where, easy reference, they could say, hey, let's do this communication channels for this topic.
Right.
This item.
I think it's a great idea, and as you said, as a communications committee, it seems obvious to put together, I guess, but it wasn't until you pointed that out. I think that's something we could definitely start put together next time as well, because yes, if something happens, a road closed, if somebody wants to say, hey, wait a minute, make sure can we do this?
Right.
Then there's the discussion right there. Don't have to worry for that money. But even if they I wrote our kiosk, that's the one I forget sometimes too.
Each one, it's not just a list, but each one has a certain lead time. Like a newsletter, hey, you've got a month's lead time. A text message, instantaneous, right? Each one has a certain limits in terms of, well, like the text message, you've got 500 characters. Right, so there's parameters around each one, right? So to be able to pull that all together and say, okay, we can do this, and this. These can be immediate. These take months in advance. This you can do, have unlimited material. This you're restricted in some way or others, right? But to have that quick reference for communication channels.
I think that's a good idea, but also then taking it a step further and letting people know in the township that these are ways that we communicate with you.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, right.
Excuse me, so it's a two-pronged process.
Yeah, you're right, because if something is monthly and it's not gonna apply, it's not worth the extra effort or the extra work, staff or anybody else as well. I think we also have, and I don't want to forget the as we talked about, the township survey indicates hopefully we'll have more to discuss from the letter supervisors as well. Don, you're sure you don't mind drafting that up then?
I'm sorry.
You don't mind drafting that letter to supervisors as well?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we'll have that to discuss with the next time, too. And again, I'm with you, Terry, these are all great things. The only reason I grabbed the one is just Jeff and I have this thing we could do, you know. Not too much there, they're all. I like what we have right now. Again, I'm just gonna get redundant seeing the same ones again that maybe, you know, this or that, but I think we don't wanna overbear ourselves. Like, we have a couple things on the table here. Anything else we wanna throw in there, just in case? Again, if I keep going, I'm gonna keep this rolling.
But
I feel like, I'm getting these ideas, I've got a few things.
we're gonna spread ourselves too thin,
But the aspect right here,
but I do think number 27 should be one of the.
that is my top, as I said, it should be more obvious than I think it is. Thank you. Hopefully, again, didn't have a meeting yet, they haven't had an opportunity, not everybody's had an opportunity to look at this, but hopefully we'll have feedback, ideas with this as we go in the next month as well. Get that, I'll share that with everybody as well. Anything else we want to add for new business? I think we covered some here.
Yeah.
Feel like there should be more, this might be one of our faster times going through, but we've still been here now, very good. And I guess moving on, before we get to closing, any other public comment? I just wanted to say one thing, just for the record, that I am not sick. Contact people exposed to COVID, so safety precautions, I'm sitting at the quick point. And I tested negative. Well, with that, I have nothing
No,
else.
we appreciate your caution.
No worries. Anybody have anything else to add? Well, again, Holly, thank you. Thank you for your updates as well. It's very exciting to hear about Texas.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to honestly just telling people I know, you can text now. Into that. So, is there something we could put maybe on our website that just reminds, we have the ready, it's there, correct? I know, I've seen them on there as well, so I think. Yeah, I think
Page is.
it's extremely helpful. It really is.
50-some things that I have listed there and
Now, I guess one other question, just I'm thinking about this too, when people. Now that we have the two options for emergency or non-emergency, are people who are signed up now automatically on both, or do they have to go and click the next one? So that first one was just an investment, okay.
that will be part of the new. It's a new language that's in the coming article for Ready Monco in the newsletter.
Okay. And is that something could we do? What do you think, Alex? Should we do a constant contact for simply that that says, hey, did you know we should do that? If you wouldn't mind, or even guide them. I like the way you write it, I still want you to do the work. It's up to you. Okay, so. Very curious to see what happens.
Is it? Would it be acceptable? I'm not sure if this is acceptable use of Brady Monco, but. Would it be acceptable to send out a message to the Ready Monco subscribers? Simply saying that Lower Salford is now making use of texting. And so if there's you say 3,000 people who are signed up for Ready Monco, right? That's not 3,000 people who are signed up for the text messages. That's just Ready Monco alerts, or is that
That's right. It's just, it could be someone gets a phone call or an email. It's how they choose to get it.
Right.
Those are other things too. It's, you know, when you go in and you create a Ready Monco account, you can click all kinds of things that you want information. In fact, when I first signed up for Ready Monco years and years ago, like, oh, it would be handy to know if there's an accident somewhere or whatever. I got so tired of hearing about the Conshohocken curve and text messages 15 times a day that I went in and removed every single one that I had clicked for traffic because it becomes annoying. Honestly, for me, it did. I'm like, I don't want to hear this stuff. So if you're signed up for, I mean, if you're not signed up for text messages, I don't know how Ready Matco can get the word out to you to sign up for text messages if you don't, if you didn't click text messaging to begin with.
And that's what I'm asking. Is there some way of getting not a text message because they haven't clicked on that yet? But whether it's an email or something to those 3,000 people who are already using Ready Monco to let them know that we are now going to be making use of text messaging. And
Well,
nothing else
so
gets-
when I send something out, or when anybody sends anything out, if you've chosen to get it via text, email, or phone, whatever I send on that system will go to that person in that form. So I may send a text, or sorry, I put information in the system, but those 3,200 people, let's say 1,500 of them signed up for text, email, and phone, they'll get all three with the exact same message in all three places. If you signed up for just email, what I put in the system will go into your email. So everybody who signed up for it is getting it in the way they want to get it. So
Right, but
if they signed up for Ready Matco, they've already had a choice if they want to choose text messaging, email, or telephone, or all three.
I agree. Question is, if I signed up for Ready Monco 5 years ago, right? I probably would not have checked off text messaging. Number one, was it there when at that point? Number two, I wasn't into text messaging at that point. I was more attuned to emails, right? So is the status, the selections made by those 3,200 people, are they current? Are they,
That's a personal response.
well,
That's their choice.
yeah, that's their choice if they kind of know about it. And that's what I'm asking is if there's some way that we can issue a reminder notice nudge to those 3,200 to at least that they're informed that text messaging is now, it is available and Lower Salford expects to start using it. Still their personal choice whether they want to actually take off on it or not. But like I said, I mean, if I had.
That information has been in the Ready Matco blurb. It goes into a lot of different newsletters that I put out over the years. It will say in there, you have a choice, email, text, phone. So if anyone read that article and they realize that, oh, I wonder if I checked off email or when I checked off, maybe I should go in and look at my account. So people, I mean, it's been put out there from the very beginning. It's been from the very beginning, you can get a text message. It isn't just a new thing that happened in the last couple of years. So that's in the information provided regarding what Ready Matco is, how you get it, what site you go to get it. I really don't know any other way to beat it into people's heads, so to speak, to say, wow, now you can get text messaging when you didn't before, because it's there letting you know that if that's how you choose to receive your notifications, it's available to you. But when I reword the verbiage for the upcoming newsletter, I can put something to the effect of, oh, and make sure, you're aware, please be aware that if you want to get something in a different format from what you did before, make sure you go back into your account. Or you might want to now go in and look in your account and see if, check the box that says communication or municipality information so that you can get more info from Lower Salford via text message, email, or phone, however you want it. I think I'll put one out tomorrow about the Heckler Plains
Heckler Fest.
Heckler Fest on Saturday.
Would,
Yeah.
would it be appropriate, and I think I see where you're going here, Justin, too, and I'll get everybody's opinion on this. Because people have different opinions, I guess. Would it be appropriate to send a message out that via text or to Ready Monco that says, did you know you can now sign up for non-emergency alerts with Lower Southford? If you choose to do so, please check off the box. Because right now, everybody's going to get the alerts only for emergencies. They're going to know about that, but that way, perhaps if they get it through email, they might know, oh, I didn't know I could get text altogether. Sorry. But that could be, would you think that that's appropriate, just to say? On our, so we used it for the trash thing, and would it be appropriate to say, to use Ready Monco to say, did you know you can now sign up for non-emergency alerts? Make sure you click off this to receive information that's non-emergency related. That way we cover all the stones right there, let everybody know that we have the option, sorry. And I think if everybody would think that's appropriate, is that something we could do? Because then you get the text, everything else, but. Then you're running, somebody might say, well, this isn't an emergency. That's that one where we say, here's our line, now the option's on you. I think it would be appropriate, personally, I wouldn't have a problem with that. If that comes to people via email, via however they checked, that kind of sends our message without being too over the top and, giving people that option.
Right.
Is that something that we think is appropriate, then we'll go with that?
Sure.
Yeah, I think if that's appropriate, I think that's the best bet, is to say non-emergency alert, make sure you go here and click. Is there a direct link that they did that then? Or would you just say?
Monco Ready
Okay,
page.
I think Holly, if you wouldn't mind doing that, that might be the best way to get people to know them. And then that covers us rather, we'll still have to remind people, make sure you click this, because that's the reality, but that might get a lot of people right away. Now I'll go do that, because maybe I do want to know about this. And I really like the option that you don't have to, because as you said, it wasn't, contract and curve might not be as important, but nobody wants to keep getting those alerts. And we don't want to do that to anybody as well.
It was so annoying. It was happening in the middle of the night.
Yeah, that's right.
Something like that. I had to go in and turn it off because it was happening so frequently. I was doing so many text messages that was. I'm not driving down there every day, but my husband was at the time, that day, Not anymore, thank goodness, he was home now.
Yeah, I think that solves a lot of that. I'm curious to see what kind of sign up we'll have. There's no way we'll know right off the bat, at least we get it correct. That's just personal preference, but we'll know eventually. So we have more people involved.
Mhm.
Anything else anybody wants to add? I think this is all great information. I appreciate everybody's time, as always.
Next meeting date,
Next meeting date, are we good for our regularly scheduled program? As far as we know, Holly, any problems?
20th.
I have it as the September 20th as well. So September 20th, here at 7:30. Via Zoom. Objections? Very good. All right, with that, I recommend that we make a motion
Motion to close.
to close. Seconded, Terry,
Second.
very good. All right, everybody, thank you again for coming out. Thank you, Holly, thank you as always. Very good, everybody.